That guy in the suit just turned that other guy into a fucking kebab.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, a podcast about comic books, video games, movies, television, and everything nerd, with your hosts, Nate Phillips, Brandon Stone, and Shuddy Boy.
Tell me, do you bleed? You will.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Journey into Comics. I'm your host, Nate Phillips, today, joined by the lovely Brandon Stone. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going. It's going.
Well, that's good. For us today, it seems like a theme with Journey into Comics. Every time I listen back to one of our older episodes, it seems like we always start the episode off with some sort of weather update. So just for continuity reasons, I'm gonna stick with a weather update. We just survived Snowpocalypse 2016, and I don't know if you got hit nearly as bad as we got hit, but I just finally shoveled the drive today. But it looks like we never even had a terrible snow because there's no snow on the road. Like the town of Hammond did really a fantastic job of like clearing the roads 100%. There was no ice or anything, and it didn't take me that long to do the drive. Although that snow is really stupid heavy. But so I don't know. Did you guys get like 15 inches of snow or anything crazy?
No, nowhere near.
Well, that's good.
It was in Frankfurt here. We got not even probably like maybe about 2 inches, 3 maybe. Up in Laffy, in the old Lafayette, they got a little bit more. But again, as you said, it was so warm that like even when I left work yesterday, and it was like snowing, the roads were fine. So, I mean, there were some traffic incidents here and there, and I think it was a little bit further north where maybe it was getting worse, because, I drove home last night and was like, this isn't bad at all. And then, of course, I got up early today to, just in case, just in case it was going to be bad, and it wasn't bad at all, so.
Well, that's good. Today, Brando, to kind of get away from us being weathermen for a minute, we're gonna just kind of fucking wing it, I think.
Yeah, I've got a few things written down, but...
Yeah, and I've got a bunch of different tabs pulled up, but I just figured we'd kind of loosely discuss things based on what we think of first. Right off the top of my head, I just want to talk about what I think the namesake of this week's episode is. Brando, if you would like to indulge our listeners in why we chose the episode title for this week.
Well, I just sort of thought about it at work, and because I knew we were going to talk about it, and that's, this past week on The Walking Dead, the whole thing with Michonne, so I just thought of how Michonne got her groove back.
And did she get her groove back. Jeez.
Quite so, yeah.
So let's kind of start off with just talking about this episode for a minute. First of all, I want to mention kudos to the Walking Dead crew. They decided to do a little time jump.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing too crazy, right?
It was like 2 months, wasn't it?
Probably 2 months, yeah. Okay.
They don't do that often at all.
No, they don't. Usually it's just very consistent story. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, usually. The only times they really do big time jumps, I think they did one in between, season 3 and 4. That was a few months at least.
Yeah.
And then I think they did another one probably while they were on the road.
Yeah, I think so.
Where them traveling wasn't necessarily consistent with their time, but yeah, no, they don't do it too often, and I liked it because I was a little jarring at first because I didn't realize it was a time jump. I guess I missed that line, and then my wife Caitlin, she said that it had been 2 months, and I was like, oh well, this all makes sense now. This is why everybody's so laid back.
Yeah, you would expect. I think they didn't. I don't think we necessarily need to see them try to rebuild Alexandria, especially with what's coming at the end of this season. because you're going to see it a couple more times, most likely. Alexandria is not infallible, and it's not perfect, and there's going to be constant attacks on this community into the future, into the foreseeable future of The Walking Dead, especially if you're keeping up with the comics, you know exactly what we're talking about. But to kind of get back into this whole thing, there is a little bit of a time jump. Carl is kind of at peace with the whole situation with his eye. He's just, hanging out. Everything's awesome. Rick and Daryl kind of have adventures together, which I thought was fun to get those two guys on screen. Now, what I want to mention, Brando, how funny is it? Last week we're talking about this, and you're like, yeah, I think Rick and Daryl are supposed to have an episode together where they just kind of interact with each other, right?
Yeah.
What did I say I thought would be cool?
I don't remember. It's been a week ago, and I've slept.
Okay, well, hey, I'm glad that within the past week you've slept. If you hadn't slept, there might be issues. I might be talking to a totally different kind of Brandon. But in that last episode last week, I said, man, it would be really cool, instead of dealing with Daryl and Rick, like, that's fun and all, I think it'd be really fun to see, like, Jesus come back to Alexandria and how he got there. And I brought up him being Jesus Paul Monroe. We find out his name is not Paul Monroe. I think it's Paul Rovia.
Yeah.
But just taken directly from the pages of The Walking Dead. My friends used to call me Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah,
I was just like,
cool.
oh, big celebration moment for me. I was just like, we finally got here. Like, this is the point that I wanted to be at a long time ago in this show, is having a strong influence from the comics consistently. And now we have it. Week by week by week, we're getting more comic bleed directly into this show, and it's setting up for some really, really huge moments, man. And I'm really excited. But what did you think overall? This episode was very, very light, I thought.
Yes, it was very light. It was, humorous, even.
I would say.
Could be just because the interaction, with it being so light, there was never, even with what happens with Jesus and him kind of taking their supplies, it didn't have that same feel as the first episode where it was tense and dire. It wasn't tense at all. In fact, they actually said this, and I was actually thinking it as I was watching. I was kind of laughing, but in Talking Dead, right after, they mentioned how when they're chasing Jesus and Rick is like driving the truck and Daryl's chasing them all around, you have walkers everywhere. They were thinking of like the Benny Hill on.
Okay, hold on, Brando. Real quick. Unfortunately, we did have a little bit of a Skype issue just then, so the end part of what you just tried to tell us, it sounded like you were, speaking through a transformer.
Oh, so like someone flushed me down the toilet?
Yeah, well, no, more robotic sounding, less water
Oh,
sounding.
so like a RoboCat. I've heard the RoboCat before in some other podcasts I listened to.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
So try it again. Rick is chasing Jesus around with a truck, and they were talking on The Walking Dead, and then they said
that between Rick and Daryl chasing him and the walkers everywhere, they thought the Benny Hill theme was going to turn on.
Now, somebody actually did that, right?
Well, yeah, and I think it's because they saw it.
Yeah, and I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was very comical to me because I marked out before he even took off the bandana.
Well, because you knew.
I knew exactly who that was. I was ecstatic because we didn't really know who and what this was going to be because they hit it so well from the previews, and I know you don't get the previews, but I saw the preview. I mean, either you're sitting there after the episode's over, you see a preview for the next week, or you see it 5 different times each time you turn on your television. If it happens to stay on AMC, or they have a trailer before a video you watch on YouTube or whatever. I saw it like 4 or 5 times, and we didn't really know what they were going to be dealing with, but it was Jesus, and that is just awesome because he proved to be almost every bit as capable as he is in the comics.
Absolutely. He looks... Sarah's like, what the fuck? Who's this guy? And I was like, he's a ninja. His name is Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, the end. That's all you need to know. More secrets will be revealed later. I loved this episode again. It feels like The Walking Dead's getting back to a show I really love watching. There were moments there in the previous seasons where it was good, but I was struggling to maintain interest, and I've gotten to the point now where maybe this is a little bit of bias because he is my favorite comic book character. With Negan being on the cusp of this season happening, maybe I've kind of picked up a little bit more interest in that regard, but I don't know, man. They're really like hitting their stride this season, finally.
Well, I mean, I personally have felt like this season is probably one of the best seasons that they've done collectively. Like, it's not over yet, but I mean, as far as like the feel, the writing, the acting, even has been pretty top notch for pretty much the whole thing. Now, with what you said about kind of getting out of it, and I can sort of feel you there. I never got out of it, but with seasons like the last half of season 4, almost all of last season it was transition.
Yeah.
And really, that part in the comics is pretty boring as well. Other than the whole Dale thing with the hunters, right?
Yeah, and I think in the comics there were other things that kind of happened that led The Walking Dead to kind of. I mean, granted, they were still telling great stories. I get the transition thing, but in the comics with The Walking Dead, it was like, in issue 63, you had the first teaser appearance of the comic book Chew. 85 was the first teaser appearance of Elephant Man. These are Image titles, that are more popular now. And it was like they were writing a very good underlying story, but yet again, like in the show, here we are. They laid a lot of groundwork, and they really took their time to build these characters, and you're invested in them. And now I'm going to lead this into a question, Brando, for you. We know what's coming. We know what's on the way. We can only imagine how brutal it's going to be. But if you were to, in your own opinion, tell us what you feel was the most gruesome major character death of The Walking Dead, who would you give that to?
Are you talking in the show or comics?
In the show, exclusively.
In the show. The most gruesome?
Yeah.
Wow. That's actually tougher than I thought.
Like brutal,
It's fair to say we haven't really seen brutal yet. Maybe. I mean, we've had outright murders. We've had people being torn apart. I mean, I guess. Oh man, this is really difficult. One of the more vivid ones, and this is something that we've seen before in the show, and maybe this is kind of dull, but this is what my mind's going to right now, and that is now I can't remember his name.
Can I eventually?
Noah.
Noah. God, we were thinking about the same person, dude.
Last season when he was in that little circular door, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
then he ends up getting trapped and kind of just basically you watch him, and so does Glenn. You watch him just basically just get torn apart.
Yeah, very, very, very brutal. That was who I was going to say, so weird that we were on the same page there.
Yeah, because we haven't really seen another person yet. I mean, maybe the closest thing is Terminus, because okay, hold on. The reason why I say that is because for the first time we see actual cold-hearted killing by other individuals.
Okay,
like the hit with the baseball bat, and then the pig draining of the like cutting on the throat, like right there in the trough. It's like, and of course that's the Penguin they kill too.
Yeah,
the actor that plays the Penguin in Gotham, he reappeared for that scene.
Robin Taylor Lord, I think. Robin Lord name. Taylor, something like that.
He is Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, he is Lord. Yeah.
But I think that so far has been the closest thing to people brutality that we've seen. Because I would say even the governor, while his killing of Herschel was definitely more brutal than his killing of Tyrese for the little multiverse there. Essentially, it's because of how much he's whacking at Herschel's head to get it off.
In the comics, that's one panel.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
portrayed a
much.
little bit differently, you know.
In the show, they didn't quite do the full decapitation with one thing. He kind of, I wouldn't even say nicked him. He really got him like pretty good in the neck, and then he finished the job with swing after swing after swing.
Yeah.
So that was pretty brutal, but I would have to say Terminus is the closest thing. But I'm really hoping that what we're about to see is really going to amp this up a bit. Well, actually, okay, here's another thing of brutal. The killing of the Saviors episode, first episode back. That was pretty brutal.
On the flip side with Rick and the group and inside the church, yeah, they
Well, no, I wasn't talking about that. Well, okay, that was brutal, yes. But I was talking about like
the rocket launcher.
the rocket
with
launcher.
Daryl.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, Daryl exploded them very nicely.
Yeah, so we've seen a few things of brutality actually. I'm very surprised that I even forgot about the church, because that was something that after I watched it, I went, I'm so glad they did that.
All right, so to wrap up this side of The Walking Dead before we continue on with this part of the topic, I didn't really plan this out so well, but before we get out of this episode and we talk about further down the road and some of the things we want to discuss, we got to see something that I kind of figured was going to happen in the show after Season 3's major character death at the end of Season 3, because I knew how irreplaceable she was in the comics. But what does Michonne mean to you, Brandon? This is interesting now, this whole Rick Michonne love interest thing, because that's, again, it's not in the comics. That's, Andrea's place.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, and people don't know this character yet, and this is going to be somebody who I'm sure we'll probably see in Season 7 if I were to surmise. At some point, we're going to get Ezekiel, and him and Michonne have a love interest of their own that has interesting complications. So what do you think they're going to do about this? Is this Rick Michonne thing, is it just temporary, or is she going to be very much the anchor of Andrea, in the comics?
I want her to be, because first off, I've actually put some thought into this because I knew we were going to talk about it. Her character in the show is vastly different than her character in the comics.
Agreed.
Because, like, for example, like, her, Rick, Carl, and Judith are relatively close. Like, they all share the house together. And, like, you would say that they're basically family, right? All they have is each other. Well, and all the other people in Alexandria, of course. I mean, Michonne even says that. Even that other guy that she followed out, I can't remember his name right now, but Deanna's son,
Spencer.
Spencer. That's it. I knew it was. I almost said Scott, but I'm like, that's nowhere close.
Do you ever feel like there are a million names in your head because of all the shows and comics and shit we read and watch?
Okay,
and stuff?
Well. And not to tangent, but it took me so long to remember everyone's name in Game of Thrones.
Oh, I'm still working on it, homie.
Like Sir Sir Barristan? No, wait, is that his name? He's the badass old knight that protected the king.
Yeah.
Is that his name, Sir Barristan? Nick is gonna know if he's listening to this. He's gonna yell at me, but because it's been so long since I said his name. But me and him used to call him Big Boss.
Big. Yes. Is that the guy that was with Grey Worm?
Yes.
That fought alongside. I think he bit it in that scene that I'm speaking
did.
of.
Yeah, he did. But he was just this old badass warrior, and I could never remember his name. And so I just called him Big Boss, or he called him Big Boss, and he's basically was the big boss of that show. And then there was a few other characters who we sort of like mixed our names up, but definitely with The Walking Dead, especially since the Alexandria people have come in. And dude, there's in the comics. I was reading the comics for 150, and I'm like, who is this? Because it's been so long. I go periods where I don't read for a while, and then I see a character, and they start talking, and I'm like, I remember the face, kind of, even though it's drawn. It's like, I'm hoping that they say his name.
You know what I've learned has helped me, just kind of sticking with tangents for a second here. We'll get back to Rick Schoen in a second. One thing that I think has really helped me with Game of Thrones characters is actually the pop vinyl line.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't collect the Game of Thrones pops by any means. I mean, I do have the Iron Throne because it was just too badass to pass up. But I'm not going to ever collect the Game of Thrones line. There's just too many extraordinarily expensive and rare ones that I'm just not trying to go after right now. Like, maybe if some crazy thing happens and, we're making like killer money and I can afford to do something like that, will I go after Game of Thrones? But for now, that's not in the game plan. So I just look and admire them, and I'm like, oh, that one's cool, and oh, Brienne of Tarth, that would be a cool one to have, or like, oh, Jaime Lannister Goldhand, that's a cool one. Headless Ned, that's awesome. And then it's like, oh, hey, I'm remembering all these characters now. So when I see trailers and shit, I'm like, oh, cool, I will not absolutely forget their name at all. So that's awesome. Okay, so back to Rick Schoen. We got away.
Yeah, got away. That's a problem when we don't plan this crap out. Tangents. But with Rashone, her character is so different because in the comics she's so much more inward with her feelings. She's very internal. She doesn't really voice her feelings that well.
Well, no, and she's had a hard road in the comics that makes her not want to voice her feelings.
Well, she is like almost like a curse. It's like anybody that she gets with or has feelings for dies.
Yep.
And so that's not the way in the show. In the show, they had a full set of episodes where she sort of dealt with her feelings and sort of like started becoming like more of a normal person and interacting with the others more and fitting in. And I feel like doing that, differentiating these two characters is really, really cool because in the comics, as you said, that spot is Andrea's. Well, there's not too many characters in the show that could fill that spot. I don't see Carol falling in love with anybody anytime soon. No. So to give it to Michonne, I'm more than fine with it because it makes total sense for the universe that they've created for the television show. She's already been close to Carl and Judith. She almost, in a way, might see them as not replacements for her children, but surrogate children. It's like, it makes her feel better, I guess, to be around them and to have them in her life. Because while it might remind her of something that she lost, she kind of has it again.
Yeah, it's a similar feeling.
Mm-hmm. And so the thing with Rick, and the reason why I did like it is because, time has passed since that last episode. Things have calmed down. And, this wasn't just like, boom, you guys are now love interest. It was like, as you said, it sort of I kind of feel like it started happening from the point where they were traveling together. There might have been some instances of feelings, but it's like, when do you get time to stop and think about that? With what they were doing, with them traveling, with them trying to find direction, with them always being in some sort of danger or what's around the next corner. Then they get to Alexandria. Then they have to, become accustomed to this new place, which they had a hell of a time doing.
Yeah, they didn't make it easy for themselves.
No, and then okay, and in a way, maybe you could say Rick sort of latched onto somebody really quickly with Jesse, but and maybe that wasn't necessarily.
He was also quick to detach from her, can I mention?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I kind of, in a way, not to belittle her character, I kind of feel like he wanted to be normal so bad that he found himself attracted to somebody, and before there was even a real emotional connection there, he just lunged for it, It was that urge to be normal, and it's funny because he kind of mentions that he wanted it, but he never thought he would see it, and then at the end of the last episode he saw it. He kind of felt it and it took him a long time to, wow, this could be something. But with Michonne, with it happening organically, with it happening almost out of nowhere, but really the way it should happen, it shouldn't be like this long prolonged thing. It should just be something that they're there together, things have calmed down, they have time to live. Yeah, they have time to address these emotions in one manner or another, and I loved it, and I even loved like what happened right after that too.
Which part did you love that happened right after it? What do you?
Well, okay, so for the majority of the episode, they're dealing with the character of Jesus, who steals their truck full of food and supplies. Then they track it down. Then they beat him up, and then they tie him up. They take off, and then he is on top of the truck because he's such a ninja. He got out of that really quickly. Then they chase him around. They lose the truck into a pond because somehow you can change gears in a truck without the keys being in it.
No, you're really not supposed to be able to do that. But for the sake of TV, he kicked it on a gear and it slides into the lake, and of course that's going to happen.
Like, did you just hear yourself going wah wah wah?
Yeah. I almost like want to cue up like some kind of button.
Button that you don't even have ready yet.
I do. I just have to get to him, and then it's like.
Moment's gone now, though.
Yeah, it's way past now. And yeah, it's so gone. And the sad thing is it didn't go to my like custom pay. Oh no, that's not what I wanted either. Favorites, that's what I wanted.
Did the Price is Right one?
Yeah, this one. Now that we just blew everybody's eardrums out.
I know, right?
I fucking
like,
love it.
But no. But they take Jesus back to Alexandria as much as Daryl wanted to leave him up a tree. Which was hilarious. I love how Daryl doesn't like him.
Yeah. And that's an awesome interaction that doesn't happen in the comics, obviously.
Well, right. Well, see, because Jesus is a badass in the comics. Daryl's the badass of the show. So there's going to be confliction. Daryl's like, I'm the badass. Not you. Screw you. But I love their interactions, too, when before the truck sank, the walker was coming up from behind Daryl, and Jesus had a gun. He grabbed Daryl's gun from inside the truck, and he told Daryl to duck. He shot the walker. Daryl punched him in the face, took the gun from him, and said, "It's my gun."
Yeah. Do you think Daryl would vote Donald Trump if the Walking Dead world continued? Is he that guy?
Dude, I don't know. I'm
Merle.
not sure.
Merle was that guy.
I think Merle would vote Trump. I'm not so sure that. I don't think Daryl would vote at all. I think he would be one of those guys who would say they're all fucking crooks anyway. So what does my vote matter?
Okay, well okay. See that? Okay, awesome. I like that theory too. I guess it's a no-lose policy with Daryl because he could be all kinds of different people. Do you think that because Michonne has taken over the role of Andrea in the comics, and I know we're just kind of like holding on to this one for a minute, but do you think that her becoming essentially Andrea in the comics on the TV show means that Carol, who is not still alive in the comic book, spoiler alert, is going to become the Michonne in one regard and end up having some sort of relationship with Morgan before something tragic happens?
Someone else brought that up to me, and I'm not so sure if that's going to happen. Because I could see that maybe. I don't. It could happen. It all depends on how much those two have actually changed over the course of 2 months, because we didn't even see them in this episode.
Not at all.
So, I mean, I don't know. I thought it would have been. I think it would be interesting to, and maybe this is not the right way to go, but in a weird way, make her sort of like the heel. And how he said, "You can't kill me," and then she kills him.
Ooh.
And she's not necessarily a villain because she's still doing what she thinks is right. It makes her a villain towards Rick and the others, but she's not on like Negan's level of villain,
Okay, so then Brandon, for some reason my brain's on high overload right now, and I'm just like theory crafting out my ass and having all kinds of crazy questions for you. Pertaining to The Walking Dead, so I guess we're spending quite a bit of time on this, which is fine, whatever, it's our show, and I don't think we fucking care. Okay, now you just said this thing about what if Carol kills Morgan, okay? Okay, that's overwhelming, but then my brain, because of who I am, goes, well, let's take it one further. What if she did that and leaves Alexandria on her own? And in, like, season 10, the fucking huge reveal is Alpha is her.
Is her? Oh. Not so much how I would like her. I'm not sure how much I would like her dressing up as walkers.
But I mean, that's
But
fucking crazy as Carol
but
is in the show.
I guess she's already sort of done that though. She sort of smeared herself with all the crap.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if she would like lead people and I don't know. They would definitely have to make changes to Alpha's character to accommodate that. You know what I mean?
She would have to at some point, and it's kind of easy to do in some regards because I know you're thinking Lydia. It's her daughter, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Sophia was Carol's daughter. She died season 2. Okay,
Yeah.
so Lydia could just be a girl that Carol fucking very much like those little sisters in season, was that 4? The crazy sister, the one that killed her sister.
Yep.
She could find another girl like that and be like, hey, I saved your life. You got to be strong like me, be with me, and we can get through anything. And that's Lydia, but she's not blood to Carol. She's just, holding on for dear life because Carol saved her.
Yeah, maybe it would be definitely an interesting road to go down to make her alpha. I'm not so sure that I'm sold on it, but it because that's not the only sort of thing that would have to be taken into circumstance to change that.
Also true.
I mean, because I don't know, I'm not so sure about that. Somebody said, like, do I see her joining up with Negan? Absolutely not. Simply because it's like, but then again, just the way she sort of handled Sam, was that his name?
Yeah.
Like the little boy, she controlled him through fear.
She really did. She terrified him into doing her bidding.
Yeah,
And
that's
not speaking when he wasn't told to.
yeah, and that's exactly how Negan deals. He pretty much scares you into doing what he wants.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of interesting things can happen in The Walking Dead moving forward, and it seems now we're at a point where it doesn't matter. I'm excited for this next episode. I think the next episode is actually titled A Larger World, which was, I want to say, in the comics, that's issue 93 or 94 is when they start the Larger World storyline, which leads into the Something to Fear storyline, which leads into our first appearance of Negan. We're very close.
Did you see what the first episode of this second half was called?
I did, and I can't think of what it was called.
No Way Out.
No Way Out, yes, correct, because it was like ripped down of the pages of No Way Out. So it was awesome.
I know, yeah, it was pretty cool. To finish, sort of to kind of wrap up. Yes, I'm excited too because it kind of seems like he's taking them to the hilltop, and also, did you kind of put this together? So he steals Rick and Daryl's truck of supplies. And the way that they wrote it, he's not necessarily a bad guy. He even says it in the episode. You know I'm not a bad guy, right? But, so why is he taking this bunch of supplies? Where's he taking it to? Well, we know as fans where he's taking it to. But why is he out looking for stuff anyway? Is it just because they need it for themselves? Or do they need to give half of that up to somebody else?
Ooh. And he was trying to scope extra supplies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's bomb as hell, Brandon. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Okay, so we're talking about that guy, so let's move into this other part of our conversation, Brando. Scott Gimple and the dudes, Nicotero and Kirkman, they have filmed the introduction of Negan, and they've actually done it 2 different ways because they're really trying their damnedest to bring the full octane Negan that we know from the comics to the show. There are barriers they have to get through. You can't say fuck 100,000,000 times on TV. That's just not copacetic on this side of the pond. They don't like that. So What do you do? Well, you film it with different inflections, and maybe you splice in some of the scenes where he does say fuck, and maybe you do bleep them, but they are essentially saying that whether it's, an alternate where they go, okay, hey, from now on when there's an episode with Negan, we're going to have it to where you'll get a code to download it separately if you want to watch it uncut. Or if that doesn't get passed, maybe because you could probably like watch it on uncut like on the computer or something. And if that doesn't get passed, they might go, okay, fine. Here's what we'll do then. We'll just put it on the Blu-ray features. Get the Blu-ray, you'll get to hear Negan in his full glory, and that's the best we can do. But they're trying their damnedest to bring him to life as full as possible, and they've filmed it in two different ways, and that's really exciting to hear because they're gonna try it. It's a solid effort, I think, from these guys.
And I actually started talking about this before we came on the air and started recording, and kind of realized I pretty much blew what I had to say about it. I wonder if they're going to do that for every time, if they're doing it just as this once for fan service, or they're going to do some of the major scenes with him this way, because it's very difficult to recreate the rhythm and jar of this character on television. Like if HBO had picked the show up when they first did it, we would be getting Negan full bore. So, but that's not the way it is. We're on AMC. We're on cable. We can push it only too far. The end of the articles does say that FX just aired Motherfucker on their The People versus O.J. Simpson special. So that's something to take into consideration. And AMC allowed Breaking Bad to say fuck once per season.
Correct.
So who knows? Maybe we'll get it. I mean, didn't they do an alternate take of when they first got to Terminus, where Rick says they just fuck with the wrong people?
Yes, they did, and it only made it to the DVD extra features, which is fine. One thing I want to mention lastly about The Walking Dead, and this is not necessarily Negan related, Brandon. One thing I'm kind of bummed they didn't continue on working on was The Walking Dead Black and White. I would have loved to get that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. My issue with that is that the show is filmed in color, and it's spec'd in color. It's shot to be in color. All the sets are designed for color. All the lighting is designed for color. If the show was designed for black and white, I'd be all for it. But like when I sat back and I watched, I think at least the first episode in black and white, and I felt it was too bright.
I agree. I did say that. I guess I'm gonna literally just we're gonna just jump right into something that you aren't even expecting to talk about because I forgot about it. But
really? Because I still have more Walking Dead stuff.
Then I'm gonna let you continue with Walking Dead, and then I'm gonna do that. But all I was gonna say is we're in a day and age now where stuff that is impossible to digitally restore gets restored in HD. So I'm sure at some point they'll be able to figure a way to release these episodes in black and white with brightness adjusted to help be awesome, because I think that would be really a fun experience to get to see the show again, how the comics are told though in black and white, and then maybe if you want to just be a little bit different from the comics, since that's how they like to do, is just be a little bit different, maybe they keep blood colored,
kind of like Sin City or something like that.
Exactly.
Interesting. The reason why I stopped you with that, because we're just kind of free flowing, and I did put off two other Walking Dead stuff to talk about, and that is that Kirkman is going to tell a Negan origin story.
When and where?
The Negan origin story will be serialized in the new Image Plus magazine, which makes its debut in May. Each of the first 12 issues of the magazine will feature a 4-page chapter detailing Negan's rise to power in the world of The Walking Dead. This story will be handled by the same team behind the main comic. And yeah.
Well, it looks like I'm going to have to get this Image. At least for the run of Negan's story, I'll at least have to get Image magazine for that.
Right, and probably what they'll do, I would imagine, is that they'll probably, kind of put it together, as a collective issue.
And then release like a single issue of the they usually do stuff like that. I mean, the Michonne special, the Governor special. I'm sure we could get a Negan special. It's not to be outside the lines of possibility. What else do you have as far as Walking Dead's concerned?
Speaking of Michonne, the Walking Dead Michonne miniseries video game just came out this week.
Telltale,
first episode.
right?
Telltale, yes. And this, it is a 3-episode miniseries, and it takes place during that gap in the comics where she's gone.
In the time jump?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Well, it looks like I'm spending money tonight.
I'll give you the description we have here on GameFAQs. It's where I'm at. In the premiere episode, Into Deep, Michonne joins Pete and his crew on the sailing ship, the Companion, as they cruise the coast for survivors and supplies. When a desperate signal for help draws them to the scene of a horrific massacre, Michonne and the crew are led further into the floating survivors' colony of Monroe, which may just be harboring the person responsible for the carnage.
Awesome. Sounds badass.
And yes, that is out currently pretty much for everything that you can imagine. Android, iOS, PC, PS3, 360, Xbox One, PS4. Basically, if you played any of the other Telltale Walking Dead adventure-style games, it's like that. Don't expect, heavy action. It's more story-driven. I don't know if... the voices or anything. I'm not sure if the actress who plays Michonne in the show, which I think her name is Denai.
Yeah.
She has one of those names that I'm just horrible at pronouncing, so I'm really...
It has a lot of consonants and not a lot of vowels.
Yeah. I'm trying on the fly look up Walking Dead Michonne.
And then her last name's just starts with a G, and that's all I know. Oh,
I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it on IMDb, but in the trailer it sounded like the same voice, but I can't say for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, that came out. It's only three episodes, so more than likely we're going to get episode 2 in 2 months. Probably in May or June, and then we'll probably get the last one probably in September, October in the fall. And then after all the episodes are out, there might be a physical release.
Probably January of next year.
Yeah, probably around the holidays. Typically, when they do a collection like this with episodes, they usually put out a physical copy. Which, speaking of, before we move on to the topic you wanted to talk about, games getting physical copies. Rocket League is getting a physical copy.
Cool.
And Super Meat Boy is getting a physical copy.
What?
On PS4. I don't know if it's coming to America, but it is coming to the UK, and the PS4 is region free.
So yeah, of course I'll have that if it doesn't come to the States.
And it's like £20, I think.
Oh, that's like $31. It'd probably be close to $40 shipped. Not bad. Yeah,
I mean, and you could probably order it on Amazon UK as well. But there was another series, and since we're in the world of The Walking Dead, there's another series, and I really don't know how to feel about this, because I'm laughing about it as I'm saying it. The Resident Evil series, more games coming out for PS4.
4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, and 6. Now, let me just say that I loved 4. I thought 4 was brilliant. I had a conversation with our friend Mike today, and he doesn't really like 4, but I love how it changed the format, and that it was still scary. It was a different scary, but it was scary, right? It was more so of a tense scary than it was what's around the corner, But with 5, it's not scary. It's everything that 4 was minus the scary, with half-assed AI. 6, I couldn't even play. I haven't even played 6 because I couldn't get over. I downloaded the demo and I couldn't get over the slow aiming. I felt like I was aiming in slow motion.
Oh no! See, I liked 5. Sarah and I co-opted 5 and we beat it. And I think that's the only way to play 5 is with a real live person, because you're right, the AI is horrendous.
Me and Rob played it. He actually bought the Resident Evil 5 360 and got that.
Oh, that's a sick looking system.
Yeah, it was pretty neat, a color variant, but yeah, it was funny because we system linked and then we couldn't get the headset to work right, so we were just yelling at each other across the apartment because I was in the living room and he was in the bedroom, because you can't split screen that. I mean, you can, but they make it's smaller than the actual screen.
Yeah.
So we didn't like that, so I went out and bought my own copy just so we could do that.
Yeah, Sarah and I split screened it. It was a pain in the dick. It was still fun, but it was a pain in the dick.
I liked it, but it's not great.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Thankfully, it's not the weakest in the series because I think that goes to 6. Even though I haven't played 6, I have received enough information to make that judgment.
Totally understandable.
But now they just released Resident Evil Remake 0. Now there's 4, 5, and 6. Capcom is doing a full-fledged remake of 2. It's like, I mean, how many? Okay, so they released 4 on the GameCube, PS2, the Wii, and now the PS3, and then the PS4. How many more re-releases can a game get? It's like, holy crap, dude.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's difficult. Here's the issue that here's the issue that gaming companies have before we move on. You've got billions of people that love your games, and there are certain nostalgic games and archetypes of games, i.e. your Silent Hill, Resident Evil, that started a genre of horror survival. Very special. The original versions were scary for their time, for the graphic quality. You know, back in the day, everyone's a little bit ballsier, so you're playing these scary games. You're probably playing them in your room at night with the lights off because you don't give a fuck. You know, whatever. Issue that comes with that, though, is that the gaming companies hear things like, oh, we want to see a Final Fantasy VII remake. That would be so cool. Like, why can't we have Final Fantasy VII remake? And they go, well, if people want Final Fantasy VII remake, and that has the reason is because nostalgia, why don't people want Resident Evil 1 remade, or 2, or 3, or we might as well do 4? Well, if we've done 1 through 4, we might as well do 5 and 6, just, keep it up. I mean, those are going to be the easier ones to translate anyways.
They're pretty much ports.
It becomes difficult because games have lost sense of meaning, because when you used to be, an older game like your Final Fantasy 3 or your Chrono Trigger or your Legends of Zelda 2, or Zelda 2, I should say. It wasn't the Legend of Zelda, it was just Zelda 2. Games like that, you put in a cartridge, and that cartridge was yours, and you had to treat it with a certain amount of respect, because you fucked up and damaged the cartridge, your save file was gone. Now with internal saving and mass data, there's no personal connection to games, so remaking stuff, people was just like, oh, so what? I played it once. I don't need to play it 50 million other times, It's just, I don't know, it's weird. It's a weird practice that's in some regards I enjoy, and in other regards it's like, I get why you did The Last of Us as a remake. It looks so much better on the PS4 than the PS3. But why in God's name are you taking a game that was on the PS2 and trying to upscale it and sell me on needing to have it for the PlayStation 4? It just doesn't make sense.
See, and while I prefaced my statement by saying I loved 4. I loved 4 back then.
Yeah.
On the GameCube, on the PS2. And I'm with you. I don't necessarily need that now. What I want them to do is, if they're going to remake a game, okay, to port it, to HD it, I bought the remake Resident Evil 1. I bought it, a physical copy on PS3, because I like Resident Evil 1 that much.
That was the one you got from overseas?
Yeah, from like Singapore,
it has
Hong Kong.
The Biohazard flipped
Resident
label.
Evil label, yeah. Like either or, yeah. Okay, so essentially that is an HD port of a GameCube game, or they used the Wii version, or whichever one they use. Now we are in an era of gaming where it's the development time and production time is so high for new games, that to fill the void with these ports, HD remasters, because like, for example, The Last of Us is not a remake, it's a remaster. They upscaled it. They did some work and made, basically what that game allowed Naughty Dog to do is learn the architecture of the PS4 so they could more easily make Uncharted 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that is a perfect game to do that with. But do you do it with Dishonored? Do you do that with you know, I just saw one the other day that I saw that got put on PS4. Crap. Oh, well, Sleeping Dogs. Did Sleeping Dogs really need it?
No. GTA 5, I guess they added stuff too, and it
GTA
does look
5,
really
yes,
good.
yes. I will actually say GTA 5 is a worthy companion because they added stuff. They added gameplay features. They made it to where you can play the whole game in first person, like you can like a Far Cry. Not my style, but it works. They added new physics. They actually went underneath the hood and said, "What can we add to this to make it worthwhile?" And I'll be damned if it's not a damn good way to have that game. But like Sleeping Dogs, I love Sleeping Dogs. I got it for free on PS Plus, and I loved it. And I wanted to have a physical copy, and I was like, I'm going to buy that on PS3 because that's where I had it before. And then I heard, oh, we're making a PS4 version with prettier graphics, and I said, I guess I'll wait. And it was the same way with Tomb Raider. The first Tomb Raider got a definitive edition as well, and it's just like I love that game. I'm playing the Rise of the Tomb Raider right now on the Xbox One, and it's fantastic. But did it really need a remaster? Does Resident Evil 4 and 5 and 6 really need a remaster? For Capcom, the company behind the Resident Evil remasters, I know what they're doing is that they remastered the original Resident Evil because Capcom is hurting for certain right now with money. Street Fighter V would have not have been made if it wasn't for Sony. Sony wanted it. They said, you make it, we'll back it. So they gave Capcom money to make that game.
Which is similar to how there were rumors that Xbox was going to do that with Silent Hills, right?
That ended up being just a big rumor.
It just ended up being a rumor.
Phil Spencer downplayed that. However, Xbox did do that with Rise of the Tomb Raider. Apparently, that's the same way with that. Square thought it didn't perform that well. The original reboot, I mean. So that was it. Well, Xbox is like, well, we want something to compete with Uncharted for our system to give people say, hey, I want an action adventure game. Well, we've got Tomb Raider series over here. So what ended up happening is that they upfronted money to get Rise of the Tomb Raider on the Xbox One and 360. And so that game is out, but it's not staying on that system. It's going to go to PS4 in the fall of this year. But
I'm hoping for a 2-pack. I've not played the first one yet, and I really want to. But I didn't want to invest in a series if I wasn't 100% certain the sequel wasn't going to be on the system I have.
Right. Well, okay. And see, there are certain markets and times where remasters and like upscales are worth it. And I feel like if it's games that you haven't gotten personally yet or played, that's fine. Like I brought up Sleeping Dogs, and I said it doesn't really need a remaster, but I just bought it because I didn't own it before.
Yeah, so you might as well get it on PS4.
Yeah, and same thing with Tomb Raider. I bought that on the PS4 because I'm like, I wanted to buy it, physical copy, to show my appreciation and love for that by buying a physical copy. But I was like, I'm gonna wait until if they they already showed pictures and it's gonna look better. It's like, well, shit. But then when you start doing it for everything, like I just heard a rumor, BioShock trilogy is coming out to PS4. HD remaster.
I would own it in a heartbeat. First of all, let me just mention, this is a fun episode, Brandon, can I just say, because we're not ever going to get to anything that we really wanted to talk about, but that's okay. I like the conversation. I like where it's going. So we're just going to keep kind of flowing with it. Let's talk about BioShock for a second, and I want to take you back to 2007. You and I really weren't talking that much. You had moved away. I had just officially had enough with my Apple iPod with video, and I had emailed Apple and I said, look, your product is shit. It broke. I just bought it. It's under warranty. What are you going to do? And they said, oh, we're so sorry for the mistake. We're so sorry for the inconvenience. We're going to send you, you're going to send us, ship out that one to us. We will take it. Do you want a replacement? I said, fuck no, I don't want a replacement. I want my money back. I've wasted my money on this thing. I want my money back. So I took the money that they gave me. I took the check and I signed it. And I put it in my bank and I turned that right back around and I went out and bought my first Xbox 360. And that was a very special moment for me. And I bought I want to say it was the 3 games I bought were Gears of War, Dead Rising, and Saints Row. Okay, so a weird amalgamation. Fast forward to working at GameStop with Sarah, and she's like, there's this game BioShock coming out, and it's gonna be awesome. And I was like, whatever, chick. You don't know me. Don't act like you know what my tastes are. We kind of butted heads when we first met. And she's like, no, seriously, you'll fucking love it, dude. Just trust me. And I was like, okay. So the demo goes up on original Xbox 360, and I was jazzed as fuck. I went that night, hooked up to the internet, download the demo, and I remember, Brandon, and I will never forget it. It's one of the most vivid gaming memories in my life was playing the BioShock demo because the water in the opening sequence was so beautiful. I couldn't even stand it. It was overwhelming. I was like, how did they get the graphics to look this fucking great, And the graphics of the water alone sold me on wanting to get the series. And then I bought into the first BioShock. I got the collector's edition, and the rest is history. So you now in the future telling me, hey, they're going to re-release your favorite game series, most likely, because I know you said that's a rumor and hasn't officially been confirmed, but it's probably a pretty solid lead. If they do that, I will buy whatever collector's ultimate top-of-the-line edition exists. Because it's something that beyond just having a special place in my heart for the love of games, it has a special place in my heart because of Sarah. So, and it's her favorite game. So it's one of those things where it's a win-win. I'm going to get to re-experience BioShock. I love those games. I would love to replay those games. And to get an opportunity to play them upscaled you got to think, BioShock came out only, in the second year of the 360? So
yeah, I think so.
2007, 2008. It was 2007. It would have had to been August of 2007. I'm 100% certain.
Okay, so it was about getting ready to go into its second year.
So
Third. Wait,
second. It was November 2006, or was it November of 2005?
05 is when
it was 05. You're correct. So it was already in its second year, going into its third. So it's still early on in the console. Mm-hmm. Graphics have evolved quite a bit. Unreal 4 is out. They're working on I'm pretty sure I heard they've been working on Unreal 5 already. Is that rumor confirmed? I'm sure they have to be, right? That's just...
I haven't heard much about that. I do know that several studios have their own really good-looking engine. EA has Frostbite. That looks amazing. Konami. If you don't fuck Konami, but they had the Fox engine. And that was used on Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh, and also, you just said Konami, made me think of Kojima. Kojima, Del Toro, and Norman Reedus got together recently. Mm-hmm. Something big's coming from them.
I think so, too. I'm excited to see what kind of comes into fruition from that, because that is a project that we were sorely, sorely robbed of.
I agree. I can't remember the name of it, Brando, and maybe you can look it up on the fly while I'm talking about it. Sarah found a game that, in the spirit and vein of the Silent Hills PT teaser, that's the whole game. Is in a house where shit goes wrong and changes and stuff, and it's very creepy.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I don't remember the name of it either.
She showed me 5 minutes of gameplay footage, and I was like, yep, we have to have this game.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but I have seen it played, and yeah, that is pretty cool that somebody took that and ran with it. But I have one more thing of gaming to at least discuss here with you,
and I probably have one more outside of that, unless what you say is what I'm thinking. But go ahead.
All right, so we got a little message from Ubisoft recently.
We did.
Well, okay, not we. No, they didn't contact us.
Oh, shit. I was like, what did we do wrong, Brando?
Yeah, holy crap. Yeah, copyright. So Ubisoft sent out a letter, or they sent out an email, or at least to somebody. Maybe it was released to a website, where they, pretty much, we are not getting a new Assassin's Creed this year.
Is this their take a step back and try to perfect what we're doing instead of just releasing shit year after year after year? Not
Yep.
that the games are shit, but you have to
Well,
understand.
Unity was.
Well, yeah, but you have to understand seasonal game releases cause fatigue on the market, no matter how you cut it. You know why
Yeah,
BioShock is a great series?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are only 3 of them. 2 of the 3 are phenomenal, great stories. 2 was okay. It wasn't my favorite. And that was the whole prequel thing. Like, don't try to prequel a story after the fact.
Grand Theft Auto. There's only, I mean, yeah, there's 5 of them, but 2 of them are on the PS1, and the game
Totally different.
it didn't really like become what it is until 3 really. But no, so they're taking a step back, and really that's because they've noticed a decline in sales, and as you said, there's market fatigue there, but also Unity really suffered, and it suffered because it was in some cases unplayable for some people. There were a lot of glitches, not just graphical either. There were glitches that did affect gameplay. I know one person that played it and said it wasn't that bad when he played it, but there were definitely some issues. Um, but then for this year for Syndicate, it played better. It definitely worked on release, but the fans were already turned off. They were like, I'm not jumping in on this. I got burned. And basically, I haven't played an Assassin's Creed since Black Flag. And I bought Rogue last year, so I do want to play it. I'm just like, I haven't worked my way up to it yet. But for this, they're taking a year off. And we're not getting a year without Assassin's Creed anything, because we are actually getting Assassin's Creed the movie next year, or this year, with Michael Fassbender, which is, I'm looking forward to see trailers for that, because it looks cool, and I like the premise. But essentially, what Ubisoft said is that they definitely want to go back to the drawing board and bring out an Assassin's Creed that's really going to innovate, as well as being, a well thought establishment, and another new entry in the series. They don't want to just keep pumping these out if quality is going to decline, and therefore sales are going to decline. Because really, honestly, the only reason they were still pumping them out is because people were buying them, right? And that's the same thing with the Call of Duty series. The only reason why we get one every single year is because every single year people buy them, and then they buy the season pass, and then they keep pumping money into it. So, Activision's going like, people want Call of Duty, let's give them Call of Duty, right? We're dumb if we don't act on our IP. But for Assassin's Creed, they're going to be taking a year off to try and get their shit together. And they've also said, just because they take a year off now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to continue on with yearly releases after this.
Well, my thing is this, man. With games, we'll use Assassin's Creed as an example. First game hooks people. Everyone's like, wow, innovative, creative, great. So now you have a loyal fan base. Second one, still pretty good. Then, okay, we're going to take a weird step here, and we're going to do Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood. It's a side story add-on. Okay, I'm still sold. Okay, we're going to do 3. It's Civil War based. Okay, well, you still kind of mostly have me sold. Now we're going to move it to a pirate ship. Okay, now you're kind of slowing me down here, Ubisoft. You're starting to take a weird turn. I haven't played Black Flag, so I don't have any official opinion of that game outside of just knowing where it goes from. And then outside of that, I don't know where they went, but it was like you get a loyal following of people. Okay, it's just like a fan of a sports team. Sports team might not always win, but as long as the sports team still is playing and trying hard, you're going to be all about it. Mm-hmm. Same thing is to be said for video games. That's why people buy Madden every fucking year, and not much changes. Oh, graphically it's better. We added a couple little things here and there. It's still Madden. You're still throwing a football. There's not much more you can do with that. It's been played out. Go into first person mode and have some sort of things on my arms that make me feel like I'm running. Maybe then we can talk about it being new and innovative, but that's not new and innovative. So what's happened is they've done quantity over quality. I'd rather have 1 or 2 or 3 really, really phenomenal stories than have 17, pretty good stories, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's caught up to them. Ubisoft, how do they not see this coming? Like, Guitar Hero is another prime example of market fatigue. Just overloading the market, man. You can't you can't just keep overloading the market.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, like their peak was definitely the Ezio trilogy, because at least because you had Assassin's Creed 1, which did well, but 2 perfected the formula, and 2 had a much better story in my opinion. And in the Assassin's Creeds, there's always like 2 stories. There's a present story and then the past story. And I thought that was the best, but apparently, and this is like not to dwell on this too much, but for the next one, I've heard rumors about them going further back into the past because they feel too constrained going too closer to the present, and that's because like they like to use history as a backdrop, right? They like to toy with history. They like to maybe bend it to where things happened, but maybe they didn't happen for the things that were taught, But as they get closer to the present, you have people who are alive, who are descendants of some of these characters that they're using in the games, and they risk lawsuits for defamation. So I guess in Syndicate, there's no the villain of that game is an actual real historic person, and instead some of those other historic people are just in the game, and you run into them and do stuff with them or something. So I've heard rumors about the next one being in Egypt.
That'd be interesting.
And I've heard that it's going to be a trilogy where you're going to have one in Egypt, one in Greece, and one in Rome, maybe. Like set around like that, all kind of around that time area, kind of like around like Alexander the Great or something.
Interesting.
I don't know for certain on that, but I mean, I'm with you 100% on the. I want quantity. I want quality over quality. Over quantity. They definitely kind of got too much in over their heads, and at least they're realizing it.
Yeah, but now they've created essentially a paradox. Okay, because now you have this universe, and you're not quite happy with your universe. What have we learned in Hollywood? If your universe is not working how you want it to, you hit the big fucking red button, everything explodes, that never happened, and then you get to start again with a fresh reboot, and you can try again, and you can try to tell the story how you want it to be. The problem now is you've introduced, hey, that game series, the movie kind of ties into the game series. So now, if you push that red button, now you're affecting not only your game series, you're also going to affect your movie series. So are they stuck essentially with the story they told and have no way to alter it or fix the problems they created by doing too many games year after year after year after year?
Well, see, I'm totally lost on where they're at in the story because I missed out on Unity, and then I have not played Syndicate. So I don't know. I know that they totally screwed the pooch, in my opinion, with their Desmond story with Assassin's Creed 3. I didn't like that at all, and I didn't like where they went with that for Black Flag either. Granted, there's not much to like or dislike about the present stuff, because there's not much there. The overall, I kind of feel like that while I did enjoy Black Flag, that's not the part that I enjoyed about it,
Okay, I got you.
I feel like that even the writers weren't sure what to do. Because I kind of feel like they made a decision in 3, and now they got to try and do something with it. Now, in my opinion, that's all. Because I always thought that the past stuff was more interesting anyway. But even though the present stuff did kind of keep me on the edge of my seat until the way they ended it, and I can't get over that. I want to know who wrote that, because they deserve a slap in the face.
Maybe it was the same guy that wrote the finale of Dexter.
No shit, man. Oh my god.
You're like, fuck, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm totally fucking with you. The same guy who wrote the end of Assassin's Creed 3 with Desmond they called him, and they go, Dexter's like, hey, bruh, can you come in here and write some for our series? And he's like, only if I can finish it. And this guy goes, well, all right, just don't fuck us like you fucked Assassin's Creed. And this guy goes, don't worry.
You know what the last words that guy said was?
Huh.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, at least at this point we may get our Dexter movie where he's the fun-loving lumberjack. I mean,
Oh God, I hope not. Okay, so to finally get away from our tangent thing, I do just want to mention real quick. Last thing, it does seem Pokemon has decided to move out of color and into astrological things that exist because they filed patents for Pokemon Sun and Moon. I don't know if you saw that, Brando, but I did, and I figured I'd throw a little blip out there for you Pokemon fans, if we have any, that Sun and Moon will be coming to us shortly. I would say probably next year and a half or so.
yeah, I heard about it, but I mean X and Y weren't colors.
I guess that's true. I forget about X and Y because I'm so far gone from Pokemon. It's sad. I really loved those games growing up, and I don't get back to them now. So maybe at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what it's going to be on. If it's going to be on 3DS, if they're going to be on only on the new 3DS
System, yeah.
or like what I mean by that is that the version
with
the new up amped version, you know, because they only released one freaking game that needs it, and that's the Xenoblade game.
The 2 analog stick system.
Yeah, it's got one like circle pad, and then it's got one C. It's almost kind of like you remember those old laptops that have like the mouse bump. Yeah, they're like it's like that. But then they're supposed to be announcing NX this year, and the rumors are it's going to be a console handheld hybrid. Maybe it's a launch game.
Cool. That'd be cool. We'll see.
Yeah.
We will see. All right, Brando, I'm going to throw this out there, and maybe you've seen it, and if not, maybe we don't talk so much about it, but I fell in love with Star Wars again because I have now seen the Despecialized A New Hope.
Oh, so you downloaded that? And...
Yeah, I have it. I've watched it several times now, and I have some commentary on it. Have you seen it yet?
Well, I mean, I downloaded it and put it up for you to download, but I've not had a chance to sit down and watch the film at length. I went through and did check out like scenes I knew that were altered because I wanted to see how they were going to look in a more like upscaled, way. And to be fair, a lot of the stuff was taken directly from the Blu-ray and then color corrected. So
yeah. Well, here's some interesting things. I'll mention that there is no Greedo shot. Han shot only. Greedo doesn't get a shot off. There is no Jabba in this cut of the movie because it didn't exist. That was the deleted scene. Just let me tell you, it was so easy for me to get sucked into the universe when I wasn't distracted by shit on the screen getting in my way. Yeah. I literally... Dude, last weekend we set it up, and we had I don't remember what we ate for dinner. Doesn't matter what we had for food, but we shut the lights completely off in the house, and we turned the surround sound up, and we watched motherfucking Star Wars, like the Star Wars, and I was submerged again. I was completely feeling how I did when I was younger, and I watched those movies on VHS and just loved them, And then to come back now, and it's like, you get to see this thing that you loved that got ruined, really, through all the different changes that George Lucas made. And I know as an artist, he says, well, art's never truly complete, and he just kept trying to, evolve it. I get that. I respect that he tried that, but what he needed to also understand is it failed, and it shouldn't have been something that became Crucible. You don't make these changes to this classic series and then assume that the changes you wanted to see are the changes that everybody was cool with the whole time, because it made things worse. And now I watch this old cut of this movie, which is really a new cut of this old movie with HD resolution, and it's mind-blowing. You just sit there and you get sucked in, and you get the feeling of just being that 4 or 5 or 6 year old kid you were whenever you first saw it. And that's something that I'm really hoping. I really, really, really hope that Disney picks up on this and gets that people want to see those movies unaltered. and we get to see them in their original integrity with high definition. And granted, all these guys did all this great work to make the despecialized editions. I appreciate it. But if Disney officially releases it, it'll be awesome. You know?
Yeah, it will be. I guess the original prints of the original theatrical versions were damaged in some sort of fire of some sorts.
Really?
I heard rumors of that because I think it was in a video that was about the despecialized edition that said that the Library of Congress filed to have the original Star Wars, the print, archived when they started putting films in, right?
Yeah.
And that was in 2011, and they still haven't got the print of Star Wars because they don't want to give it up. It's damaged, and it's going to have to go through a long restoration process. So from what I hear, that's one reason why they haven't. Now, I know Disney's not dumb. They know if there's a buck to be made, they put this out there, it's going to sell like hotcakes. So I know they're not dumb. It's all going to amount to, can it be done? How much is it going to cost for us to do it? You know, because even though it's going to sell like hotcakes, you know, it's like you want to price it reasonably for a trilogy. You don't want to make 3 movies $90. So depending on how much it's going to cost to restore these films and get this done, might actually play a part in it, depending on how damaged they are. And then maybe, as I said, maybe it can't be done. Maybe they're just too far gone.
Let's hope that's not the case, honestly.
Yeah, but then again, they could also salvage what they can and kind of do what they did with this. And, you know, it is sort of a hybrid. It is sort of like almost kind of like a Heinz 57 of Star Wars, because you're getting scenes from the Blu-ray and scenes from the Laserdisc, scenes from this and that, with sound from the original cut. But it was all done frame by frame to where it seems seamless as far as the alterations that he had to make it look like the original.
There's only one thing I noticed about the despecialized edition that did bother me. If you pay exclusive attention on only the backgrounds moving around, you can tell where things have been altered.
Yeah.
But if you're not focused on that, which you shouldn't be, watch the fucking movie. Don't be a creep like me and look for weird things. You'll never notice it. Because until I tried to notice it, I didn't notice it. And then I completely just like said, okay, then I just don't need to focus on that. And as soon as I stopped trying to focus on it, boom, right back to not noticing it, and it looked awesome. So,
Right.
Despecialized, totally cool, man. Totally, just well worth it.
Hell yes, and I'm glad you downloaded that. And did you? So you got that one, and then I think I put up Empire as well. Did you get that one done?
I didn't see Empire, but I have a bit of unsettling news to tell you.
You deleted them, didn't you?
Well, no, that's not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is, for some reason, the first file you sent for A New Hope, you sent it, and I did the RAR thing, except for it didn't put them together at all, right? It just, the file corrupted, and I was like, oh, well, I don't want to bother Brandon. It was really late when I was working on it, and I know you're back on normal people sleeping hours, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to let it go. I'll figure it out. And I just happened to go on one of the torrent sites I go on, and they have all 3 of them. So I can just very easily download them and avoid that drama. And what I plan on doing is, you had mentioned you were going to get me a copy of them on a Blu-ray that was burned.
Yeah.
I will gladly take those so I can remove them from my hard drive, since they're 17 plus gigs per file.
Yeah. The files to download for the Blu-ray are different and to like .isos. So those are downloaded and on the hard drive, and they're just waiting on me to get Blu-ray discs, and then I go over to Mike's because he's got a Blu-ray drive, and we figure out how to burn them.
That's awesome news.
Yep.
Heck yeah. So Brandon, real quick, not to throw you off, but the CW verse, they just, this week was like huge for the whole CW verse. just to not really talk about. I don't really want to talk about Supergirl too much because I only got to watch it once. So while I've seen the episode, I haven't really had time to like digest all the different crazy things that kind of transpired, and there's a lot to talk about there. On the flip side of this, let's talk about Flash, and I'm just going to kind of run through it really quick. This week, the Flash King Shark episode. He shows up, causes havoc. Diggle and Lila show up there trying to help out. Caitlin struggling with the death of Jay Garrick and what that means for the team. Is Jay Garrick really dead? They don't know. They don't know what's going on. It comes to pass that Barry has to kind of come to terms with what he saw on Earth 2 and really just let the people that he saw on Earth 2 and saw what they went through tell the people on Earth 1, this is what your counterparts did. This is what I had to live. Feeling as if you guys were them because you guys look exactly the same. You're them to me. Like they were real, and I had to watch people that I cared about suffer, even if it wasn't you guys. I had to live that moment, and that's a moment that I can't take back. I had to that tragedy. I had to hold it on my shoulders, and that's a very overwhelming thing for Barry Allen. In all of this, Barry's super smart, and he starts to figure out he needs to just get his mojo back and focus on beating King Shark, which he handily does, and the episode's great. And then, as always in The Flash, there's the whoosh, and there's the post-little credity thing, and we're back in Zoom's lair, and he's holding the body of who we can only presume is Jay Garrick, and then he takes his mask off, and it's also the face of Jay Garrick. So what does that mean? Then the episode ends. So here, real quick, theory crafting with you guys who are watching The Flash with me and who are caught up. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. Also, I need to mention, I'll talk to Brandon about this when he jumps back in, a little fucked up moment that happened because of The Flash with me this week. So real quick to finish up on my theory thoughts of what's going on with The Flash. Hunter Zolomon is Zoom on Earth 2. The actual Jay Garrick is the man in the iron mask in Zoom's lair. The person that died who was pretending to be Jay Garrick on Earth 1 is actually Zoom's twin, because if you'll remember, Jay Garrick tells Caitlin, that's Hunter Zolomon sitting on the bench. Earth 1's me. He was adopted. He did have a twin, but he died. So that means essentially on Earth 1 and Earth 2, whatever happens on Earth 1 happens on Earth 2, but there are just subtle differences, essentially. Career changes, making slightly different decisions. Maybe you're not chaotic good, maybe you're chaotic evil, maybe you're not an anti-hero, maybe you're strictly a superhero, whatever. There's just these little imbalances between Earth 1 and Earth 2. So in Earth 2, you're going to have Hunter Zolomon, who is Zoom, and you assume that he had a twin, who I think was the guy playing Jay Garrick, who went and in front of Team Flash was pretending to be Jay Garrick, while Hunter Zolomon was actually infiltrated inside of Team Flash's lair the whole time and has just been fucking with Barry Allen, and I cannot wait for them to get back to Earth 2 to see what happens, to see the resolve of this season. It's been really great overall. Before I move on to Arrow, I'm going to bring Brandon back in for a second. Brandon, I committed a fallacy, a terrible crime this week.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so yesterday, I'm pretty sure it was, during the snowpocalypse. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was yesterday. I'm scrolling through Facebook, just doing my thing, scrolling through Facebook, and I see a post by our good friend Seek. And it's a picture of King Shark from the Flash episode, posted 13 minutes ago. And I was like, oh, that's like at the end of the episode. Sweet. So I like the fucking post, and I'm like, I'm going to comment and just be like, oh, that episode was great or whatever. Well, the top post was the spoiler reveal at the end of the episode after the Flash logo shuts off. The first comment was the picture of the reveal. And I was like, oh, well, Seek must have already seen it, and this guy knows that Seek's already seen it, so they're just going to talk about it openly. So then I just start running my big fucking mouth and, oh, theory crafting this, and we were just talking about this the other day on Journey into Comics, and, oh, this is great. And Seek comments, thanks for spoiling it, guys. I had one commercial break left, and it was going to finish the episode.
Oh, no.
So, in contingency, and I've agreed to this, I don't know if he'll go through with it, But and it's only a minor offense on my part to Seek, but because I feel so bad, I have given Seek the approval to spoil Star Wars Episode 8 before it comes out. He will see it before I see it. He will tell me what happens, and then I will go see it. Because I
Ouch.
suck.
Ouch. I mean, that's...
Well, man, you got to think, I feel horrible. It was an awesome reveal. It was kind of something that I mean, for Christ's sake, Seek had said very similar to what he thought was going to happen is what happened. And then I fucking spoiled it before he even had a chance to, like, get the reveal. Like, damn it. And I know the other guy posted a picture. I know, I get it. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad. I feel bad for you for Seek. I mean, I don't want to be spoiled on stuff. I mean,
especially, I mean, The Flash is something that Seek really, really enjoys. He likes it more than Arrow. So, you know, when it comes to Arrow stuff, I don't really get, like, crazy if he posts about Arrow stuff. But when it's The Flash, I love that show too, and I want to talk about that show. So, you know, funnily enough, I jumped the king shark. See what I did there?
Yeah. I did Fonzie. I did, okay. But well, I mean, I hope that he sends you a message with spoilers for episode 8 because I don't want to see them.
No, well, the way I would see it happening, because I didn't really talk the logistics, you know, with him or anything. But in my opinion, humble opinion, I spoiled something for Seek. So the way I look at it is, he's on the West Coast. I'm going to purposely not go opening night to episode 8, or if I do, I'll go to the latest showing possible so that Seek will have seen it first. And I'm going to make sure he sends me a thing that spoils it. And who knows, maybe when that time comes, he and I both will have forgotten about it. But right now, in this moment, I feel bad, and I want him to have, you know, retribution for my error. So, you know, he'll just send me a thing that says, hey, here's a spoiler, you know. Luke punches a baby duck in the end. Like, that's how it... And maybe he's fucking with me. Or
dude.
Or maybe he's serious, you know.
That was the rewrite that they delayed the movie for a month for. Is like, look, guys, 7 did so good, but I just had a brainstorm. Okay, Mark Hamill punches a baby duck. That's all I'm saying. And then it's all quiet. Next thing you know, it's like, my God, you're a genius. Delay shooting for a month. In fact, push the movie back another 6 months. We need to get this shot just right. I'm not sure why Zach Brannigan is actually like a producer for Star Wars Episode 8, but let's just roll with that.
And we're just gonna roll with it. Fuck it. Who cares? Okay, so I really...
You all right there?
Arrow did something this week, as far as Arrow is concerned, that was a legit curveball. That they've led this whole season of season 4 of Arrow to make you think a certain bad guy was the overarching villain for this season, and then they literally stripped that person of all their powers and dignity and made someone else even bigger. And that's all I can really say, because I don't want to spoil it too much. But just the curveball of, you've expected this whole season there's going to be this great final showdown between Team Arrow and the other opposition. And we're not going to get that because we got it. Last night's episode was, from what I can tell, the end of the alleged big bad from this season's story arc. And someone who has never really had that final showdown with Oliver Queen has now taken the mantle back to do that. And it just blows my mind. I'm just so excited to see what is in store for Arrow. Now, the only thing I really don't like about CW shows is, Brandon, I don't know if you know this or not, they just took another 3-week break. A mid-season break.
Oh man.
And I don't know why they do that. I'm sure it has scheduling conflicts to do with certain things for certain reasons. Probably also has a little something to do with the week they come back is the week that Batman versus Superman comes out. Like, Flash comes out March 22nd, Arrow 23rd, DC's Legends 24th. Then you'll have the premiere of Batman versus Superman all in that week. Very busy week for DC. Lots of big news, and especially with some of the new episodes that we're going to get. Tonight, Legends of Tomorrow, Star City 2046. That's hard to say. Cannot wait to see what they do with that 30 years into the future. Old Man Oliver. That's all I can say about that. Brandon, are there any other major things we should discuss before we skedaddle? I don't even know how long we've been doing this. Oh, not bad. Not bad.
This is totally off topic, but me and you sort of talked about this off air last week, I do believe, about the whole fair use thing on YouTube.
Yeah, fuck YouTube.
All right, so it's for those who don't know, there's fair use is basically a law that states that we can use other copyrighted works within our created works used for clips, for review, for parody, anything of that along that nature. Basically, someone says, you can't use that, we created that. You're like, yes, but I'm using it for commentary, I'm reviewing your work, I'm allowed to use it, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay, several YouTube channels have been hit pretty hard by this, including Channel Awesome. They, of course, they have a website, That Guy with the Glasses, but they also have a YouTube channel where they post their stuff over there. And they got hit pretty hard. And he even made Scott Walker, I think his name's Scott Walker, the nostalgia critic. He created a video called "Where's the Fair Use?" And that's the video I was watching last week before we started recording, and that's why it was so fresh in my mind that after the show, I didn't really feel like talking about it during the show because we had a lot to talk about, and we had to do that little split segment thing. But here I want to touch on it because a channel that's near and dear to our hearts got affected this week and got completely deleted.
What?
Team 4-Star.
Really?
Yesterday, or it was early yesterday morning, or the day before, late that night, their entire channel was deleted.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it's back up now. Yeah, I think it came back up like last night, but episodes 50, 51, and 52 of DBZ Abridged, Dragon Ball Z Abridged, are still not up. And for some reason, I'm thinking those are the videos that got hit with a strike or with a takedown notice. Pretty much, they have to consistently do battle with Toei Animation for copyright infringement. Now, they don't make any money off those videos. They have other videos where they do gaming videos where they play games in character. So Krillin plays video games, Vegeta and Nappa play video games together. Like, basically, the Saiyans play is basically them playing games on their way to Earth, like, for the Saiyan Saga. It takes 9 months to get to Earth, so during this time they play Dead Space and a bunch of other games.
Well, that's awesome.
So they make money off of that over their depictions of characters of just voice. But for the actual episodes where they do the Dragon Ball Z Abridged, they don't. That's not profit for them. They don't make anything off of that because
non-monetized videos.
Yes, and so they make money through other means. But so that's completely legal for them to do that because they even say straight up that this is a non-profit fan-based parody. We're not doing this for profit. This is for fun. It's in the same vein of it's like a fan edit, just like our Despecialized editions or fan edits of the original Star Wars movies. In a sense, since he's giving them away for free, it's legal, right? As long as you own those, those Blu-rays. Whether or not DBZ Abridged, since it's a parody, has to confine to themselves to that same sort of thought with you have to own the set of DVDs, or I don't think that's the same way because it's a parody. It's like when Weird Al Yankovic does a parody of Eat It or Amish Paradise. I'm sure that in some instances he probably pays the artist, a royalty fee for sort of covering the song, but it's a parody. You don't have to. So I just kind of wanted to bring this up because this is a big deal. I mean, the more that Hollywood gets power to do this kind of stuff, because it's all designed with the whole YouTube thing where you're guilty before you can prove yourself innocent, and it's all designed to benefit the corporations, the people who are saying that you're infringing on their rights, more so than you defending yourself.
Yeah, man. I think I hate to say this because I don't really like to get political or anything, but man, fucking Bernie Sanders for president. Let's get these big corporations, because that's what it is. It ultimately comes down to money. Everyone's so fucking greedy that you can't be creative. Like, I mean, I've heard that there are certain people, and I don't know these people very well, but allegedly there are certain comic book artists that are lobbying to make it to where if they created and have whatever rights to that character. So let's say, for example, Rob Liefeld has the rights to Deadpool as far as the character's creation is concerned. That he could tell people, hey, you can't make any of your own versioned art of Deadpool whatsoever and sell it because it's my intellectual property you're making money off of. Like, and there are artists that are talking about doing that. Rob Liefeld probably not going to do that. Deadpool's not that kind of character, but there are other characters out there that people are threatening those kinds of things with. And it's just like, it's gotten to a point where everybody's just fighting everybody and it's all over stupid shit. Like, the money comes and the money goes. Let it go.
Well, I mean, I think it was like last year, there was a whole internet fight with, what was that thing called? I'm having a brain fart. The whole, where it's a free and open internet thing. Do you remember what that's called?
Oh, I know it. Net neutrality?
Net neutrality. Wow, I had a brain fart on a massive scale. I was about ready to start slowly typing it. I'm like, searching internet free thing. Anyway, net neutrality. So net neutrality, that battle got fought last year. And you know how we won that?
No. People
All
fought
right.
it.
Well, okay. Presidential candidate Ted Cruz was against it, saying that having net neutrality is a detriment to the internet, and actually, it inhibits market growth. Meanwhile, under net neutrality, it ensured that companies like Google, Yahoo, MSN, Facebook, MySpace, not so much now, but at the time, YouTube, you name it, Amazon, eBay, all those companies are now successful now because of the free and open society that is our internet. I can make a website today to compete with Netflix and say, Netflix sucks, Brandoflix is better, go subscribe. And whether or not I'm telling the truth or not, whether or not it is true, it's up for the consumer to decide. If they decide that mine is better or just as good, I will flourish. If not, I will fail. To do what they were wanting to do by taking away net neutrality would mean that cable companies could say that I have to pay a certain fee in order for my content to reach my customers. So if I can't meet that, that demand or that price, then my stuff's going to be slowed down and I'll never be able to compete with Netflix.
Correct.
So essentially, with the whole net neutrality thing, all right, Comcast, Time Warner, Cox Communications, I mean, your big cable companies, even Verizon Wireless were against net neutrality because they want to be able to control how you get your internet and what you can see on your internet, essentially. Not to sound too dystopian there, but to say, just for example, and there's a cat.
Yeah, I don't know what hell her deal is. Hey, cat, get out of here.
That
Folks,
was I'm not sure if you could actually hear that through Nate's mic, but through the mic that I'm picking up him through, that was relatively loud.
It's Cammy. She's our love bug cat. She's just obsessed with cuddling, and she's trying. Hey, I'm trying to record a show, honey. Like, you got to fucking not do that.
We're having a serious political debate.
We're being adult-like right now.
Yeah.
Cammy. She just looked at me with, like, sad Hulk eyes. Just like, oh.
Okay, for example, though, those companies, like, you know how cable is, like, subsidized where, like, well, for example, say I wanted AMC, but in order to get AMC, you have to get tier 2, which has these other channels.
Yeah.
That's what they were wanting to do for the internet.
Yeah. Oh, you want to access Netflix? You need to pay tier 3 pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck them.
Well, okay, so you want Facebook, but you don't really want to do YouTube. But you could do tier 1 here. That's not too bad. But YouTube, you got to do tier 2. So that's like 20 extra bucks. That's what they were wanting to do. And they paid people like Ted Cruz to go out there and lie to the American people and tell them like a flat out lie. And saying that, basically what he was saying was net neutrality, but he was saying it wasn't net neutrality. And that we need to get rid of net neutrality. Well, you had Comcast, Time Warner, Verizon giving all these politicians all this money to lobby and fight against this. Meanwhile, the other companies, the internet companies, your Facebooks, your Amazons, your Googles, your Wikipedias, they banded together and they put money in, and their money defeated the cable company money.
Well, hell yeah.
So yes. But think about how we had to win an argument. We had to have the bigger cock. That was it.
That is true.
So what you said about these corporations and money and everything, in order for us to win, we had to have more money. If we didn't have enough money, then we wouldn't be enjoying the internet that we're having today. And
well, hopefully, man, times are changing. That's all I got.
I hope so, but damn it, man. I'm so glad that Team 4 Star is back up. I hope their videos get restored soon. I haven't checked to see if they're up today yet. But I was when I saw their post, I was very depressed because it was just last week that I was talking about it. Saw that video with the Nostalgia Critic because we do stuff on YouTube as well. And we may be looking to expand that in the future, with projects with the podcast. And in that freaking video, dude, there's a series where there was a guy said that him and a friend talk about a movie they just saw. And the Hollywood company, I'll just say, for example, Universal or something, right? Say he saw Jurassic Park or something. Said, I own your video. You can't put this video up. It's copyright infringement. And they didn't watch the video. They didn't check it out to see if there was any footage or photos or music or anything taken from that. They just flagged it and said, I own your shit.
So how do we combat this, Brando?
Dude, right now, the only way to combat it is one case at a time. There is, that's the whole movement right now, is to try and get YouTube and Google to make a better system for this, because it's really detrimental to the creators and artists, because essentially, even though they did not look at, and that case can be won every single time, because really, say for this podcast, all we do is get on here and spout our opinions about copyrighted material. That's all our show is.
Yeah.
I mean, 100%. So say, if we put up episodes onto YouTube, if we do a special podcast just for YouTube or whatever, say we do that, and somebody, say it's DC, Marvel, Disney, is so you're talking about the new Avengers movie? Or they're just going to openly flag us, maybe, for just, they see the title, they see a picture that we use for the thumbnail, and they assume that's the movie, or they assume that we stole something from them, so they flag it, and then it gets taken down, and then we have to fight this freaking battle. And essentially, what they're saying, without saying it, is, we own your opinion.
Yeah, but they don't, because guess what? We're still technically in the United motherfucking States of motherfucking
shit.
America. And guess what? Here's the deal, folks. If I want to say some shit, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to fucking say it. And you know what? No one can stop me from saying it. You know why? because that's the right I have to have in this country, is to literally speak my opinion as much as no one wants to hear it, and no one can stop me from doing so. And the fucked up thing about that is that on the flip side, I say that right now. You know the kind of people that would fight me in this, Brando? And I'm not trying to do a whole bunch of political bullshit talk on a podcast that has nothing to do with politics. Trump supporters would absolutely argue freedom of speech while they, in fact, are inciting their freedom of speech, and I don't tell them to shut the fuck up or stop. Like, I realize that people that support Trump, maybe they don't have their wits all about them. Maybe they do. And maybe that's just their opinion, and that's fine. But on the other side, maybe not. And that's all I really have to say about that. I just think we're in the world now, Brandon, where technology is starting to overtake and become its own entity. I mean, really, technology is its own entity, but it's ever growing. And now technology has allowed people who are everyday people who maybe don't have the mental capacity or the physical capacity to go have a 9-to-5 job, allowed them opportunities to create content and have fans and people that subscribe and change those people's lives. And as soon as people start having something that's like good for the people, what happens? Big money comes in and swoops them up and says, nope, you're not allowed to do that. You can't do that. We're not letting you do that. You're in the free country, but you're not allowed to do something.
Yeah.
Free country, Brandon. Did you know you're not supposed to be allowed to collect rainwater? That's illegal.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that.
What in the actual fuck?
There are some cities, and I'm not sure if this is just citywide, that don't want you to have gardens.
Here's one for you, Brando. The state of Michigan has just passed. You are not allowed to have oral or anal sexual activity. It's illegal.
Now, did that fully pass, or did it just pass the Senate?
I think it fully passed.
Because I saw it pass the Senate. I don't know if it passed fully, but yeah. It was hidden in an animal abuse bill.
Yeah, like, what the fucking fuck, people?
I think I saw where it said it's punishable, like literal, like if you read the law literally, it's punishable by up to 15 years in prison.
Like, don't tell me how to fuck what I want to fuck or who I want to fuck. That's mine to have. And the fucked up thing is, the people that wrote that bill, Brando, the most fucked up thing is I would almost put $100,000 that I don't have on it, that the motherfucker that wrote that into the bill is probably some sort of skeezy fucking child molester. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's a lot of shit, because there were states that actually have that, or they used to, until I saw that a lot of those laws have been deemed null and void due to some sort of federal passing of certain laws, by saying that like they technically can't do that. But I know, dude. We live in a world that seems like it wants to go backwards. You know.
It really does. It's very unfortunate. It's very archaic thinking, and this is Brandon. I've consistently said this in my everyday life, and I know we don't get to like interact every day together like we used to, but it seems to me that we are literally, Brandon, we are on the cliff. Right now is a moment of time. This year, specifically 2016. There are so many humongous things that could come from this year, and the politics side of that thing. I mean, the fate of our country is in this election more than it's ever been before. You know, it used to be presidential elections. That Republican guy, he's got some good points, but he's a douchebag. That Democratic guy, really nice guy, doesn't have really great points, or whatever the combination of two things are. People vote, boom, we have a president, game over. Now it seems like it's like literally you've got fucking Batman as Bernie Sanders, and you've got the fucking Joker as Donald Trump. And yeah, I know Hillary exists and all that, but no, she shouldn't, And right now you've got a guy who wants legitimate change for the good and legitimate change for the bad. And I know that Donald Trump, to some people, raps it as like change for the good, like, oh, take America back, and all this shit. Listen to what he's saying. Like, he is Adolf Hitler all over again, folks. How do you not see it? So we're at a tipping point, man. And this year's, we just got to fucking get through it, man, and hope for the best. That's all I can really say about this.
What I will say is, no matter how this election goes, all right, no matter how, like, I just want to say, like, to all the people that said they want to move away just because some guy gets elected, you're truly abandoning what we have. Because, if I did that for every single thing that happened I was unhappy with, dude, I'd be moving all over the place. The fact is, guys, and this is the last thing for me on politics, things aren't going to go our way. Then they never will, 100%. Just because an election happens and you don't like the outcome, don't give up on your country.
I totally agree with you. So, Brando, here's one final little ditty before we close this episode. We got another. Brandon, I swear, I feel like if I talk to you, we have to talk at least for 2 hours. We can't just like have like let's have like a 30-minute conversation. Like, it's got to be like balls to the walls conversing for a long. I love it because, again, you're like my closest friend in the world, so we've got to talk about all the different things. I don't know if you heard this or not, but Mr. Ryan Reynolds, okay, guy who played Deadpool, really, 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 really getting behind the idea of hosting SNL as Deadpool. You've seen there's a petition that has been started for Deadpool to host SNL. You've seen that?
Yeah.
As of today, that has 75,000 signatures, okay? That's a lot of signatures. That's more signatures than I think Betty White got to host SNL. I think she only got like 48, and they ended up giving her the hosting. In all of this stuff, and I promise this is like some sort of... Well, I've got to find the fucking video. Of course, when I need to find the video that I marked to find, I can't find it. But if I were to just jump off here, I'd find it in no time. I know you're not a fan of his music, or him as a person necessarily, but you heard about what Kanye West said.
Yeah.
About how influential Kanye West is.
Mm-hmm.
He's more influential than Stanley Kubrick. He's also allegedly more influential than Aristotle and all these other crazy things, right? Well, Deadpool had been caught saying the same kind of things. And I've actually got that audio now. I think I'm going to play it. The worry I have is, I don't know if there's going to be any preface to this. I'm trying to just find just purely the audio. It's kind of being a pain in my dick. I think I found it. So hopefully this is the audio.
Listen up, Lord Michael.
Found it.
SNL took my fucking Life of Pablo album without asking. Now I'm full. That and Rick Taylor. Fake ass. I'm gonna break the motherfucking internet. It's 7 years since X-Men Origins. Fuck this shit. Biggest rated R movie of all time. Are they fucking crazy? I'm 50% more influential than MC Hammer. Apostle Judas Iscariot. The Kia Sorrento. 10% more influential than Barbara Bush, the Muppets, Bob Newhart. 60% more influential than the iPhone 5, Shredded Cheese, and Dr. Ruth. 7% less influential than the Urban Dictionary. Don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with me. Dead or alive, 3% more than Wolverine. Yeah.
Hilarious. I don't know if you got that, Brando.
Oh, yeah.
So Ryan Reynolds wins, man. I think as far as, like, I love Stephen Amell. Stephen Amell champions the Green Arrow and is always all about the flagship of Arrow starting the CW verse, which has led to, Supergirl, The Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow, and all these things. But Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. And one thing I wanted to mention, Brandon, just to talk about Deadpool in that little clip is, I know, and maybe I'm reading too far into this, but every interview I've seen with Ryan Reynolds on the other side of how successful Deadpool was, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So him talking about how much it grossed in its opening weekend and all these things. You know what he says?
What's that?
He says, and I quote, "The most successful Marvel movie. He has never used the word Fox. Do you think maybe Marvel secretly had something to do with this?
Not necessarily. I mean, no, I don't really see it. Whether or not they, I know, no. I think that if they did, I don't see it going bigger than Fox, honestly, at this point, because Fox is lauding this way too much as their own thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. Also, Stan Lee said he had an issue with his appearance.
Yeah, it wasn't long enough.
It wasn't long enough.
He didn't get to spend as much time in the in the club as he would have liked.
All right. Well, Brando, I think that's all we got for this week, man. We've talked about a whole bunch of things, nothing really that we intended on talking about, but I think this was a fun little episode, getting back into the norm of doing a weekly episode together. More of these. We're going to try to probably do a couple little solo casts. Last thing I want to mention here, Brando, just to kind of change the game plan. I know I had talked about needing to possibly break the silence and speak on the drama that I just dealt with a couple weeks ago. Here's all I'm going to say. The drama has happened. It's past. I'm over it. I'm beyond it. I've got other things I'm focusing on now. Things are good in my world, and I'm ready to just enjoy being back on the podcast and kicking ass with you guys full time, all the time, every time. So you have my undivided attention is all I'm saying.
Couldn't ask for more.
All right. Well, Brandon, it was great to discuss all the things we discussed.
Hell yeah.
We've got no real episodes planned coming up, but I'm sure we'll do another one next week. I'm sure there'll be news and stuff that breaks. Maybe we can discuss or do some kind of game or something. We haven't done a bit in a while. Maybe we should work on coming up with a couple bits for next week. Just on the fly.
A bit of some sort.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe something simple, maybe something a little more difficult. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, in the coming weeks, there's definitely some plans for you to come down, like WrestleMania weekend, I think.
Yeah, when is that? The 20-something?
No, I want to say that is the weekend of April 2nd and 3rd.
It's the first weekend of April. So the way that it is going to play out is going to be like Batman v Superman weekend, then WrestleMania weekend / Walking Dead finale. Right?
Well, I'm not sure if it's the finale, but I do know that they air, and I have Monday off work, so we don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about hitting the bed, early on Sunday night, so we can try and get stuff done. But I definitely want to see. I have planned for when you come down to do a return of the Nerds of the Round Table.
Can't wait.
Discussion thing. Not really too sure who's going to be on yet, but there will be at least 4. So
okay, well maybe in that week. You know what? Just to riff on our show a little bit for a minute here, people don't really get to hear us talk on the other side of this, and I know you've got to wrap soon. I'm sure that you've got a fussy little man who's needing your attention. But I think we need to do like during the Nerds of the Round Table episode, we need to maybe do some actual games between the group of whoever the nerds are. Do some creative nerd. I'll come up with some shit, Brandon, and fully flesh this idea out. But actual games where for example, password. I don't know if you know what password is. You're given the password. You have to say one word to get me to guess the password. The other people also have the same password, and they have one attempt to guess the password, and it just goes back and forth until someone gets it. And I love those. I love those kind of games, and I think it'd be really fun to do some live stuff like that. But again, us not being in the same town or city or anything like that, and having to record via Skype, those kind of bits are usually impossible for us. So when we do get together, I want to try to have some of those things kind of fleshed out so we can maybe make some special stuff. You never know.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's all gravy with me. We can come up with some cool stuff.
All right. Well, folks, for Journey into Comics, I'm Nate.
I'm Brando.
And we'll see you guys on the other side. Have a good one.